welcome back, everybody. And now, Elana, I'd like us to shift gears a little bit because we
Mhm.
can't have Elana and not talk about geoengineering in detail, right?
Well,
Yeah,
geoengineering.
especially, Elana, when we're talking about human biology and what geoengineering means.
Oh, yeah, regarding biology. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so I
that's
just want you to
that's
take this
key.
where you want to take it. Yeah, just
Okay.
take it where you want to take it because I think it's important for us to understand the connection between human biology, geoengineering, the weather, the climate, and all the things happening around this.
Right, right. Well, there's some things happening regarding this that I'm sure your listeners do not know anything about because there are people that don't want us to know anything about it. But I have made some connections because I'm a real ace researcher. When it comes to the internet, I can find just about anything. But let's start with the idea of geoengineering. They make it sound like it's just about solar radiation management. They make it sound like it's just about this cover story that they have called climate change or global warming. These are both cover stories. I'm not saying that there's not some truth in them. That's one thing you learn if you pay attention. I studied MK Ultra, which is a CIA mind control program. I studied that for years in order to understand intelligence agencies because they're running pretty much everything now. Certainly, they're running geoengineering in the sense that people report, different departments report to them because geoengineering is not what the press is telling you it is. It has nothing to do with making you safe from solar radiation. It has nothing to do with any with carbons, for example. That carbons are from our automobiles are bad for the atmosphere. No, it has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is, and this is, I keep this definition up here. I liked it. I don't know who said it. In geoengineering is intentional manipulation of global scale Earth system processes. Okay, I'm going to read it again. Intentional manipulation of global scale Earth system processes. Okay, and that word intentional is very important because that means there are real people behind this. This is not aliens bringing it from, Alpha Centauri or anything like that. This is real people making real big money from all the scared people. It's another similar to the CV-19 drama. It's another way to use fear so that you can get planetary things going. And the planetary size element is essential to these globalists who used to be called in the old days, 100 years ago, internationalists, because they've been working on this project to have a global government over all sovereign nations for over 100 years. So this is just the latest chapter, and a very extreme chapter it has been, as you well know. Uh, so what geoengineering is really about, this list comes from uh, Clifford Carnicom, an independent scientist that life introduced me to. You know how things happen as you're making plans over here. Then life brings you the very person you need for the next 20 years. And I met Clifford Carnicom at a breakfast back in 2005 or so. And he started talking about what he was studying. He was seeing these jets flying in the sky with this spewing out the back that people kept telling him were contrails, but he's a chemist. He was trained in chemistry as one of his subjects, and he knew that wasn't that wasn't ice and water and condensation. No, no, this was a chemical signature he was seeing coming out of these jets, and that was way back in 2005. And he'd been seeing those jets since 1995. So he was collecting condensation that would come down after the jet had passed, and he was able to finally and then put it under his microscope and maybe put it in a petri dish and add some chemicals and see some reactions in order to figure out what exactly was coming out of these jets. That was the beginning. And I had a file on chemtrails because I was studying all manner of things. I was writing another series of books I've written that we haven't even gotten close to is the Sub Rosa America series. It's a fictional approach to telling the history of America and what has happened to it since John Kennedy's assassination and a little bit since World War II ended. So Clifford was able to show me that the chemtrails were not just another thing that had happened to America, and they were dumping this crap on us that we're breathing deep into our lungs, and then it goes in our bloodstream, and then it goes straight to the blood-brain barrier and easily gets in there because it's filled with nanoparticles, nanotechnology. Well, at that point, I knew next to nothing about that, and so when I met Clifford and started going to his place and looking through his microscope, first thing I looked at was my spit and saw that there was this creature in it that moved on its own motility. Speaking of biology, and I had a biology background in undergrad. That was my second major. So here's this little wormy guy making its way across the dish I had him in from having, what I did was what Clifford had us all do. There were like 25 of us, is slosh just a sip of red wine or grape juice in our mouth for the sake of the red dye. And then after we brushed our teeth and cleaned our mouth, and then spit that into a clean dish, and then let the residue settle, and then see if anything moved. Well, there it was. This little creature that he had been trying to break into because he realized that the outer form was just a polymer covering, but that whatever this was inside there. So that's the point at which I came into this. And I began to read everything I could find that was published, and there wasn't much, on the chemtrails and what other people had written, and study their, and make notes and stuff. I began to get very serious about this because I realized that if they were dumping that from the sky, they're dumping pathogens, for example. If this really was a pathogen, like Morgellons, and I already knew about Morgellons, and I had interviewed people who have Morgellons, and how serious that is. If they were dumping Morgellons from the sky, and this little thing moving across the dish looked just like something someone had picked out of their scalp. Well, this was a crime. This was a massive crime. And that our military, which I thought was running the geoengineering, despite the fact that NASA lies all the time. I knew that already then. I've been studying this for all my adult life because back in the 60s, we had all experienced Vietnam. We had all experienced these big corporations having oil dumps off the coast of California and killing all the seagulls and fish and everything. So We knew that corporations and governments were not to be trusted. So that I was studying all of this, and I had files on just about everything. Uh, that's how I came into it. And each book I've written four. The fourth one will be out in February 2025 from Inner Traditions Publishing. Um, each book, I unveil another layer because at first I didn't see the importance of the Morgellons, which is definitely synthetic biology. And synthetic biology is basically a misnomer. There's a term for it. I don't remember right now, but no, there's no biology if it's synthetic, or they use biology to make synthetic cells, synthetic parasites, synthetic everything, synthetic DNA, because of the transhuman agenda. They want to turn the human being into a singularity automaton, and they want to spit in God's eye, you might say, or in Mother Nature's eye.
And
Huh?
Alana, you talk about the US when you talk about the geoengineering and the chemtrails, but this is happening in your
Everywhere.
research.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere now. Because part of it is, think about it, they're dumping in the upper atmosphere. That was the stratosphere. We live in the troposphere. And then a lot of this stuff comes down. And then the, there are the there are the winds, there are the rain. They're controlling the wind, they're controlling the rain. This is all AI control. The weather is absolutely controlled. And the clouds, those clouds that everybody loves, I guess, well, they're plasma. These aren't the clouds I had when I was a child. These are made of plasma, and I have plenty of proof for that. So so no, it's been one layer after another to figure out what these elites, these people who have governed the planet for thousands of years, what they have in mind for the human being, because we're breathing all this in. This aerosol um, delivery system is just a godsend for them. It's just, and now they put the CV-19, so called, into the aerosol program as well, and now we're breathing all that in. So this is very serious, and this is why I've spent 13 years, or maybe 15 now, just on this. I haven't had time to all the other things I'm interested in or that I know things about. Other than MK Ultra, I do keep up with MK Ultra to a degree to help the people who are victims from it write their stories. I do that because they often don't have money or resources, and I do a freebie now and then. So other than that, though, I pretty much spend every day. There are no vacations. There is no break on getting these books written. Now I'm working on the synthetic biology book that will be out after the geoengineering book comes out in February. And all that is not to save people today. I think most people are now mind controlled. I don't think they're at all aware. And so I'm writing these books for the future, for people who will read. I live in a nation where nobody reads. I mean, they don't read. They would rather watch a video
Yeah,
and
I
make
think
that short too.
that is global now.
Yeah,
I've read studies about the attention span,
yeah,
the reduction in the attention span. I think every year it keeps dropping
that's right.
drastically. It's like a steep drop, and you can see that also in how we are evolving from longer videos to YouTube Shorts to the TikTok 30 seconds. This is also showing how they are responding to the attention span. And
Right.
you also hear people saying, oh, I don't want the video to be too long, just 5 minutes, but you can't learn anything in 2 minutes or one
No,
minute. So yeah, I think this is a global
But
challenge.
but just remember that the the transhuman movement, what
Hmm.
they want eventually is that we'll be completely plugged into the internet, and we will just receive pre-digested news into our cortex. There will be no processing. We will only be given the information we need. So that's what we're facing now. Let's
What
bring
does
back.
that look like, Elana? What does that look like?
That looks like complete mind control, where the human being, first of all, your inner, if you study what the live blood analysis people, and I'm involved with a group out of Australia. I go to
Hmm.
their sessions when I have time, and
Hmm.
I'm collecting everything they're doing. They make sure I get copies. Is They're finding, the first thing they've been studying is what is in our blood, live blood analysis. They're using dark field microscopy. They're using very expensive microscopes in order to see on this scale, and they're finding not just the CV19 uh, ingredients, hydrogel. Uh, I mean, there's so much. They're finding that in everything, not just in your blood. It's in. I just got one yesterday from a woman who has her own microscope, and she has discovered that in Pepsi Cola, there is. It has the same thing in it that the CV19 had in it. It's like identical. So they've got it in the food supply. They're coming at it away from our will, away from our activism, uh, and they're doing it very quietly. And and then when someone comes out, like the doctors I'm involved with, they are mainly doctors. Um, then they just put out a bunch of uh, stuff about them not being what they seem, and they're this and they're that, and it's dirty pool then. So this is a real war, and for me, I'm working so hard because I at least want a human remnant, because now with the jets that have already happened, well, that's among them, maybe not all, but among them is a very big new transhuman, the first transhuman um, people, and they are being tracked by satellite, and they are receiving, a lot of them have to do with hospitals. I would, unless I'm in an automobile crash where, I need immediate attention, I would never go to a hospital, nor would I go to most doctors, of course. But this is already very far along now, because we've all been chattering about the CV19 now, and all the deaths and all of this and that, for 4 years. 4 years have gone by, and they've been working steadily all those 4 years, and they're following that first batch of transhumans. So that goes forward, and to me, uh, I just want that there will be some human beings. So I very much support a lot of non-vax people uh, here in my area who find out about me. I certainly don't try to be found out about, because I think that's why I'm still alive. Part of it, and I don't have a PhD in biophysics or anything. Um, so that's where we're at, and to me, Rudolf Steiner, I'm on the front lines in writing these books. So I'm trying to write books that will reflect what I think has happened at this point. Now there will be a lot of new stuff coming because there's going to be another hit coming as I keep finding out. But to prepare the younger generations for this, it wouldn't be in the Waldorf classroom that you would, hit them with this. This is too big.
Yeah,
Uh,
and when we're talking about the biosphere and the spraying, the
yes,
aerosols, I
yes,
couldn't help thinking about our gardens.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I was just thinking, it just got me
yeah.
thinking,
I
what is that
understand.
our gardens? Like, because we all got crazy about gardening and growing our food
But
and,
you
you know,
used
saving the
you used
bees by putting flowers. We all got crazy, but now what does that mean?
but if you are using GMO seed, then it's not a real garden
But how would
because,
we even know whether it's
well,
GMO or
when you
not?
when you buy the seed, it's kind of like, you're looking on the black market now for seed, in that you want to find someone who has a conscience
Yeah.
and has what's called heirloom seed. People don't know this, and they're still eating GMOs. I don't, I mean, I eat GMOs when I go out to a restaurant. I can't help it. And I know they're using that because it's cheaper. Here in America, GMOs are everywhere. But for my own daily use, I only eat organic. Only. I never buy any GMO foods because that seed is synthetic. See, I don't think you're getting any nutrients from it either because it's synthetic seed. It's not real. I mean, it
So we
is
have the
real.
seed, we have the seed to deal with, we have the rain to deal with, we have the
No, no, I
aerosol.
know. I was getting to that.
Ah,
You
yeah,
will
yeah.
still have the geoengineered weather. You will still have that.
Okay.
But it's the seed that is the important part. The rest, you keep your immune system strong. And there is a way to do that, and I will cover that in this book. You keep it strong and vital, and it will handle the rest. But not if you eat synthetic seed. Then all bets are off. So that's the tack I'm taking. Now everybody's making their own decisions now, and everybody has it's kind of like looking at the elephant in the living room, right? When one person feels the trunk, one person feels the tail, and they think the tail is everything, that sort of thing. That's where we are now, because our masters, the ones who run this planet and have run it for thousands of years, the Satanists, they're Satanists. Uh, they, well, I can't say anything good about them. They're completely captured. I certainly wish the best of that they can possibly get themselves out of what they're in, but I don't think there's any way by which they could turn to another path. So that's going on, and that's what geoengineering means. Now, I was going to read you Clifford's list because I think it's important. Okay, so we have, I don't know if you can read it, but we have,
No, but yeah, just read it for us.
yeah,
Just,
we
yeah.
have, there are 7 basic operations going on with geoengineering. The
Mm-hmm,
first one is weather engineering. All the
mm-hmm,
weather is engineered now. There is no natural weather that I know of. Maybe the weather that is coming off the South Pacific at the in the night, that then is scooped up very quickly by the U.S. Navy and Merchant Marines and Air Force, and pulled along the coast with radar and what's it called? Well, anyway, with technology, pulled all the way up to right off coast where I am, so that it can be tacked onto the jet stream that is over Vancouver Island north of me. And then they yank that jet stream because they control the jet stream entirely. They pull it all the way across the United States and then decide on what kind of weather they want. They want a tornado, if they want a flood, if they want a drought, whatever they want. And then they take it to the Atlantic, and then there's an Atlantic part that they hook up with for Europe, for Africa, etc. Okay, so that's weather engineering. Uh, along with that comes the chemical and electromagnetic operations, and those are that's all pretty experimental because they're using lasers and radar and a lot of radiation up in the upper atmosphere and our atmosphere. They're creating plasma. They create the plasma clouds with electromagnetism and gases. They're controlling the Birkeland currents and Alvin waves, which are essential to our relationship with the sun. They're controlling much about the sun. In fact, I just was sent an email this morning by a guy who seems to me pretty clueless, who just told me that the NASA says we have two suns. So I guess that's what they're going to hit us with next. But I'll tell you one thing: one of those suns is not real. One of those suns is a solar simulator that they've had for years. So anyway, then the third operation is planetary geophysical. They're controlling all the fires now. They can heat up areas, and they have all this aluminum oxide in the soil, compacted to 6 inches, that they can set on fire, ignite, and that's all nanotech. That's all nano. So the fires are excruciatingly hot, and often water will not put them out. So that's part of what's going on the geophysical level. Then the fourth operation is directed energy weapons. That certainly is obvious, though I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that a lot in their Internet of Things around them and the 60 hertz or 50 hertz in the walls, all of that can be used as a directed energy weapon now, especially with all the waves that are moving through us and we're not even aware of them. So then the sixth operation is that six? Five. The fifth operation is surveillance and neural manipulation, and that simply means they know where all of us are all the time, and mind control is generally being done by satellite now, and that's the purpose of all those little satellites that went up, to be able to control our minds, along with the nanotechnology that we're breathing in from the chemical trails. And then the sixth is digital biology, nanotechnology, transhumanism. Okay, so then a lot of the digital technology that we're breathing in as well. Basically, tiny little computer parts. We breathe those in too. They're so tiny, we have no idea. And as soon as they're in, they can be told where to go in the body. Wow. That's already a done deal. And then the final one is the one that I'm expecting to see any time now, which is the UFO, attack, quote unquote, because they've had exotic propulsion craft since they brought the Nazis in at the end of World War II, and they can do a lot, and they have cloaking where you can't see it. Your senses need not apply, because you're not going to be able to see it, and you certainly aren't going to be able to feel it unless it hits you. So this is what geoengineering really is, and that's why it's taken 4 books for me to lay it out, because all along I've had to learn.
Wow,
all this.
What a time to be alive.
I know. I'm thrilled to be here. This is the kind of warfare I love.
Lana.
I am a warrior. I am a warrior through and through.
I'm still digesting. I think each of those.
Well, you're in shock. I know.
It's a lot.
Of course, you're in shock. I was in shock. I would sit.
I
would sit and weep. I would weep. This is it.
It's a lot. It's very extensive. You read through the list, but if you really think really deeply about that list, each of that area, that is a whole
huge. Yes.
Those are all elephants in every room.
Right. So I had to ask myself, as the closing of this most recent geoengineering book, I've learned enough now about all the components.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to say, is there a way that we can weaken this system, short of going out and trying to pull over some cell towers, which I don't think will work anymore because the satellites are more and more taking up what the cell towers used to do. I think it's our relationship with electromagnetics. I think that's where we have to hit. We have to change our lifestyle. We have to not be such children about, oh, this cool toy like Alexa or whatever that's called. These things that have snuck in like a Trojan horse into our lifestyle that can be used against us. I think this is where we have to begin, is to really strip down. Like I only have my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else that is on this scale. I don't have a TV. I don't have a cell phone. I refuse to buy one. They're deadly, and you can be controlled 24/7 by that cell phone, even if it's off. Doesn't matter. So I have a landline where I just hung up on two people, or maybe only one, and I have my computer, and then I have my electric lights, and then I have these devices I'm putting in my um, electric sockets that I was gifted with by an electrical engineer, and they broadcast 24/7 a friendly uh, frequency to help my body and brain survive all the 5G and 4G that is everywhere around me, right? All my neighbors, in the
Okay.
air, everywhere. And it seems to be working quite well. I have no joint, I'm 77 years old. I have no joint problems. I have no health problems. I eat very little meat because now they're injecting all the cows in America, including they're trying to take over the organic cows. Uh, so I look at food very differently now. Not
Mm.
at all out of my desire, not at all out of my appetite, not at all out of being pure, because I know nothing is pure now. But
And it doesn't taste the same. And you know, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, and she was telling me how she all of a sudden she's allergic to fruits that she loved. And I ate a nectarine, which I love, and it I felt like it almost killed me, you know, because my stomach hurt. It has never happened before. So we were having this conversation, and she said because maybe our body recognizes it's foreign.
well, it recognizes it's not real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we
and
ate these fruits, but now all of a sudden everyone is allergic to almost everything, or it doesn't
well,
just taste
there
the
is
same.
no such thing as allergic. I mean, you can throw that out. That is the body rebelling against whatever you just put in it. Uh, but
Yeah,
but the animal products, yes, everything. And I'm training myself to eat less. Well, at 77, you really don't need that much food, to tell you the truth, if you've lived a very vital and full life. But I definitely think that by giving you my list, I have given you a whole bunch of things that you need to study. And you really have to begin with my books because I don't know anyone else using that particular system and going as deep as I do. So there it is. I know that you can get my books. Okay, they are published, they have been translated into Serbian
Okay.
and Dutch. But
Okay.
so far, no Danes have taken it up.
But
But
they're
you,
in
you can
English.
get it in English
Yeah, in
from,
Denmark, a lot of people speak English very well. Very.
yeah, and you might be able to get some of the books over there. And then also Watkins in London, I have heard that they carry my books. So, in Europe, I'm kind of clueless as to where you would get the books.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
very
probably know
tricky.
more than I do.
Yeah, it's very tricky sometimes because Amazon,
And if people want the book I would recommend, in
mm,
lieu of the two that'll be coming out very shortly, is called Geoengineered Transhumanism. That I wrote that in 2021, and
mhm,
it's a very fat book and it's expensive. But
mm,
if you want color photos, the
mhm,
Amazon version is black and white. Nothing I can do
okay,
about that. But the color photos would be from the Rudolf Steiner bookstore in Seattle, Washington. And you can find him on the net. And he carries everything I write, actually. Very kind of him. And I would recommend that book, even though the shipping would probably be a bit dear, but not nearly as
yeah.
dear as it is to send it to Australia. I recently had to send a couple of versions to Australia. It cost me as much in postage as the books did.
Yeah, but yeah, try sending it to Africa. It costs you three times. It's almost
Yes,
impossible.
yeah, and
It's
you can
crazy.
tell by that the people they don't want to know these things. You can really
You can
tell.
really tell. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can. Yeah, they really, yeah, you can really tell. Yeah.
And
But
your show is the first one I've ever done, which has half Rudolf Steiner and Waldorf and half geoengineering. I've never done that before.
we went with the wave.
We did the wave. We did the wave. Yes,
Yeah, we did
very
the wave.
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I totally enjoyed it. I hope you will be back. And, Alana, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your
Yeah.
knowledge and your information. It was so much, it was fun, but it was also thought provoking, I must say. There's a
Yes.
lot to think about here. And I'll let you have the last word and then we can head out.
Well, my last word is simply wake up, and if you are awake, figure out how you're going to stay awake in all the ways that you don't even know are coming yet, and value your humanity. It's not a matter of nations, just nations now, or races, or any of that. It's a matter of the human being is under massive, massive assault. So we think of our children, we think of the future. Uh, we need to study, we need to do research, we need to take this very seriously and put it forward as probably the most important thing going on in our lives today.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Alana. To all our listeners, thank you for stopping by. This was our smart sister, Alana Freeland, who has shared so much on the Rudolf Steiner framework of education, or should I say his philosophy and the world of education, as well as geoengineering. As you all heard today, we went with the wave of things. And we did a part two. So I think you're in for a treat. I want to thank you all again. And as always, until next time, goodbye.